You walk into a store for one thing. One thing. Maybe it is toothpaste. Maybe it is socks. Maybe it is a charger because somehow chargers disappear into another dimension the second you need one. You are not there to shop. You are not there to treat yourself. You are not there to make a financial decision. You are just there to solve a tiny problem. And then you see it. A big red sign. Was $80, now $39.99. And something happens in your brain before you even realize it. Your attention locks in. Your pace slows down. You pick up the item. You do the mental math, half off. That is basically saving $40. And suddenly, the question changes. You are no longer asking, do I need this? You are asking, can I afford to miss this? That is the trap. And it is not because you are weak. It is not because you are irresponsible. It is not because everyone else has discipline and you somehow missed the class where they handed it out. Sales are designed to create a feeling. Not just a number, a feeling. They create urgency. They create relief. They create the little dopamine spark of winning. You feel like you discovered something. You feel like the store made a mistake in your favor. You feel like a smart shopper, the kind of person who knows how to stretch money and beat the system. And that feeling is powerful because most people are not walking through life feeling financially relaxed. Most people are walking through life with a quiet pressure in the background. Rent is higher. Groceries are higher. Subscriptions keep renewing. Wages do not always feel like they are keeping up. So when a sale appears, it does not just look like a discount. It looks like a break. Picture a whiteboard. On the left side, we write one simple sentence. I bought it because it was on sale. That sentence sounds logical. It sounds responsible. It sounds like something a careful person says. Now under it, we write another sentence. I spent money I was not planning to spend. That sentence feels different. It feels a little uncomfortable. Both sentences can describe the exact same purchase. That is what makes sales so psychologically slippery. They let spending disguise itself as saving. You hand over $40, but the story in your head says you saved $40. You walk out with less money than you had before, but emotionally, it can feel like a gain. This is why sales are so hard to resist. They do not simply lower prices, they change the frame. A shirt for $40 may feel expensive if it is just sitting there with a $40 tag. But a shirt for $40 that used to be $90 feels like a prize. Same shirt, same money leaving your account. Same closet at home where, if we are being honest, there might already be 3 shirts that do basically the same job. But the was price changes the emotional meaning of the now price. It gives your brain a comparison point. And once your brain has that comparison point, it starts judging the deal relative to the anchor, not relative to your life. And that word, anchor, is the key. Anchoring bias is one of the most important ideas in behavioral economics. It means that when your brain is given a number first, that number influences how you judge the numbers that come after it. It does not matter if the first number is fair. It does not matter if the first number is arbitrary. It does not matter if the first number was carefully selected by a marketing team to make the second number look irresistible. Once the anchor is on the board, your brain starts measuring from it. So let's put it on the whiteboard. We draw a big number, $100. Under it we write original price. Then next to it we write $60. Under that, we write sale price. Now your brain sees a gap, $40. That gap feels like value. That gap feels like opportunity. That gap feels like something you are getting. But now let's erase the $100. What do we have left? Just $60. And now the question becomes much cleaner. Is this item worth $60 to you today, given your actual budget, your actual needs, and your actual goals? That is the question sales are often trying to stop you from asking. The anchor does not have to be fake to be powerful. Sometimes the original price was real. Sometimes it was not. Sometimes the product really did sell for $100 last month. Sometimes the price was set high for a short time so that the markdown could look dramatic later. But psychologically, the effect is similar. The first number becomes the reference point. It becomes the mental normal. And once $100 feels normal, $60 feels cheap, even if you would never have considered spending $60 before seeing the discount. This is where people start blaming themselves. They say, "I have no self-control," but the truth is more complicated. The modern shopping environment is not neutral. Stores, websites, apps, emails, and ads are not just showing you products. They are constructing a decision environment around you. They are choosing which number you see first. They are choosing which color the discount appears in. They are choosing whether the timer counts down. They are choosing whether the inventory says only 3 left. They are choosing whether your cart shows you saved $72 today instead of you spent $128 today. Every part of the experience is trying to guide your attention toward the feeling of gain and away from the reality of cost. Now let's talk about why this works so well mathematically. Not scary math, human math. Imagine you were willing to pay $50 for a pair of shoes. That is your real value. Not the store's value, yours. You see the shoes listed at $120, marked down to $70. The store wants your brain to compare $70 to $120. In that comparison, $70 looks good. But your true comparison should be $70 against your willingness to pay, which was $50. In that comparison, $70 is still too expensive. You did not save $50. You overspent by $20 compared to what the item was actually worth to you. That difference matters. In economics, there is a concept called consumer surplus. It is the gap between what you were willing to pay and what you actually paid. If you were willing to pay $50 and you paid $40, you got $10 of surplus. That feels like a real win. But if you were willing to pay $50 and you paid $70, there is no win, even if the tag says the item used to be $120. The sale can create the illusion of surplus by making you compare the sale price to the original price, instead of comparing it to your own internal value. And then there is another idea called transaction utility. This is the pleasure you get not from the item itself, but from the deal. Think about that. Sometimes you are not just buying the product. You are buying the emotional experience of getting a bargain. The item gives you one kind of utility. The deal gives you another. That is why people buy things on sale and then never use them. The moment of purchase already delivered the emotional reward. The sweater can sit in the closet with the tags on, because the brain already got what it came for, the feeling of winning. This also explains why sales can make you buy more than you intended. A discount lowers the psychological pain of paying. Normally, spending money creates friction. You pause, you think, you hesitate. But when something is discounted, the hesitation gets softened. You might say, "At this price, why not?" That phrase is dangerous because it sounds casual, but it is doing a lot of work. Why not? Bypasses the real question. The real question is not, why not? The real question is, what else could this money do? Every dollar has an opportunity cost. That is another whiteboard phrase. Opportunity cost means that when you spend money on one thing, you cannot spend that same money on something else. A $30 impulse buy is not just $30. It might be 2 lunches. It might be part of a bill. It might be a step toward an emergency fund. It might be money that keeps your future self from feeling stressed next Friday. But sales make the opportunity cost fade into the background. The discount is visible. The alternative use of the money is invisible. So the store shows you the anchor because the anchor is vivid. Was $100, now $60 is concrete. You can see it, you can feel it. But this $60 could reduce your credit card balance is abstract. This $60 could give you breathing room later is abstract. This $60 could help you stop feeling behind is abstract. Human brains struggle to weigh abstract future benefits against vivid present rewards. That is not a character flaw. That is how attention works. Now let's zoom out from the individual person and look at the system. Because if this were only about one shopper making one decision, the solution would be simple: just be more disciplined. But that is not the world we live in. We live in an attention economy, where companies compete not only for your money, but for the mental pathway that leads to your money. They study behavior, they test layouts, they test colors, they test wording. They test whether 50% off performs better than buy one, get one. They test whether free shipping at $75 makes people add items they did not originally want. They test whether a crossed-out price increases conversion. They test whether showing a countdown timer makes you act faster. This is why it can feel like you are fighting yourself. In reality, you are often fighting a highly optimized environment. You are one tired person at the end of a long day, and on the other side is a system built by teams of people whose job is to make the purchase feel obvious, urgent, and emotionally satisfying. That does not mean you have no responsibility. It means your responsibility has to be realistic. You cannot depend on willpower alone when the environment is designed to exhaust and redirect it. Think about online shopping. In a physical store, you at least have to carry the item. You feel the weight of it. You stand in line. You watch the cashier scan it. There is some friction. Online, the friction is almost gone. A sale email arrives. You tap. The product page loads. The anchor appears. The discount appears. The reviews reassure you. The timer pressures you. Your saved card is ready. One more tap and it is done. The spending is almost frictionless, but the emotional reward is immediate. And after the purchase, the system reinforces the story. Congratulations, you saved $42. Notice how strange that sentence is. You just spent money, but the confirmation page congratulates you for saving. This is not accidental. It gives your brain a clean ending. It lets the purchase feel like a responsible act. It lowers buyer's remorse. It makes you more likely to do it again. Sales also work because they interact with scarcity. When a sale has a deadline, your brain treats the decision like a disappearing opportunity. Ends tonight. Limited time only. Last chance. These phrases create pressure because humans are loss-averse. In many situations, we feel the pain of losing something more strongly than the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. So when the sale is framed as something you might lose, the emotional stakes rise. You are not just deciding whether to buy. You are deciding whether to let a deal slip away. But what exactly are you losing? This is the question to write in huge letters on the whiteboard. What am I actually losing if I do not buy this? Often, the answer is nothing. You still have your money. You still have your space. You still have the option to buy something later. You still have the right to decide after sleeping on it. But the sale wants you to feel like not buying is a loss. That is the flip. The default should be keeping your money. The sale tries to make the default feel like missing out. And this is where money shame enters the picture. A lot of people feel embarrassed by impulse spending, especially when they are already trying to budget. They look at the package arriving and think, why did I do that? But shame is not a great teacher. Shame usually makes people avoid looking closely. And if you do not look closely, you cannot learn the pattern. So instead of saying, I am bad with money, try saying, my brain responded to an anchor, a deadline, and a feeling of scarcity. That sentence does not excuse the decision, but it makes the decision understandable. And when something is understandable, it becomes changeable. The exit strategy starts with slowing the moment down. Not forever, just enough to break the spell. Sales depend on speed. Anchoring works best when the first comparison becomes the only comparison. So your job is to introduce a second comparison. The store says, compare $60 to $100. You say, no, I am going to compare $60 to my own life. That one mental shift is huge. The first question is, Would I buy this at this price if there were no sale tag? Not at the original price. At the actual price. Would you still want it if it were simply listed as $60, with no red sticker, no countdown, no crossed out number, no feeling of victory? If the answer is no, the discount was doing most of the work. And when the discount is doing most of the work, you are probably not buying value. You are buying the feeling of value. The second question is, did I want this before I saw it was on sale? This question cuts through the noise. If the item was already on your list, the sale may be genuinely useful. If you needed winter boots and the exact kind you researched is discounted, that is not the same as randomly buying boots because the markdown looked good. Sales are not evil. Discounts can absolutely help. The problem is when the sale creates the desire instead of serving a desire you already had. The third question is, where will this live in my life? Not just where will it physically go, but what role will it play? Will you use it next week? Will you wear it 10 times? Will it replace something broken? Will it solve a real problem? Or will it become another object you manage, clean, store, move, and eventually feel guilty about? Ownership has a cost beyond the price tag. Every item takes up space, attention, and sometimes emotional energy. The fourth question is, what is the opportunity cost? This does not have to be dramatic. You do not need to turn every purchase into a moral crisis. But you do need to reconnect the dollar to reality. Instead of saying, it is only $25, try saying, would I rather have this item, or would I rather keep $25 available for something else? That phrasing returns the power to you. It reminds you that not buying is also an active choice. A practical strategy is to create a personal anchor before the store gives you one. This is powerful. Before shopping, decide what the item is worth to you. If you need jeans, decide your range before looking at tags. If you are shopping for a blender, decide the maximum you are willing to pay based on your budget and usage. That number becomes your anchor. Now when the store says, was $180, now $119, you have your own reference point. Maybe your number was $80. In that case, $119 is not a deal for you. It may be a deal for someone else, but not for your situation. Another strategy is the waiting period. Put it in the cart, then leave. Not because you are never allowed to buy things. Because time reveals whether the desire was real or manufactured by urgency. After 24 hours, many sale-driven purchases lose their emotional charge. The item looks different when you are not inside the marketing moment. If you still want it, and it fits your budget, then you are making a more grounded decision. You can also make a planned sale list. This is where sales become your tool instead of the store's tool. Write down things you actually need or genuinely want before the discounts appear. Then, when sales happen, you shop from your list. The list protects you because it separates desire from exposure. You are not asking, what is on sale? You are asking, is anything I already planned to buy now available for less? That is a completely different relationship to discounts. Another helpful rule is to calculate the spending, not the savings. When the cart says, you saved $76, mentally translate it to, I spent $143. The savings number is not fake, but it is not the most important number. The most important number is the amount leaving your account. That is the number that affects your budget. That is the number your future self will feel. And finally, practice saying this sentence. A deal is only a deal if I needed it, wanted it before the sale, and can afford it without stress. That sentence is not about deprivation. It is about clarity. Because the goal is not to become a person who never enjoys buying anything. The goal is to become a person who is harder to manipulate. A person who can see the anchor without being dragged by it. A person who can enjoy a discount without confusing spending for saving. So the next time you see was $100, now $60, pause. Imagine the whiteboard. Erase the $100. Look at the $60 by itself. Then ask, is this worth $60 to me? If yes, maybe it is a good purchase. If no, then the sale did not save you money. It almost cost you money, and that is the real lesson. Sales make you spend more because they change the question in your mind. They move you from need to opportunity, from price to comparison, from spending to saving, from choice to urgency. Anchoring bias gives the first number power, and retailers know how to use that power. But once you see the mechanism, it becomes less invisible. You can still be tempted. You can still feel the pull. But now you can name it. And naming it matters. Because the moment you say, that is an anchor, you create distance. You are no longer just inside the feeling. You are observing the feeling. That tiny gap is where better decisions happen. Not perfect decisions. Better ones. The kind that leave you with more money, less clutter, and less regret. So no, you are not broken because sales work on you. You are human. Your brain loves comparison. Your brain loves winning. Your brain hates missing out. Retailers build entire systems around those truths, but you can build your own system too. A pause, a list, a personal price anchor, a waiting period, a question about opportunity cost. These are small tools, but they put the steering wheel back in your hands. The sale wants you to ask, how much am I saving? Your financial peace depends on asking, why am I spending? That is the question that breaks the spell.